Hillary Clinton and now Shannon Sharpe, the Hall of Fame football player, they say we don't listen to black people enough. White people do not listen to black people well enough. Well, I've been searching my heart, searching my soul. And I know I've been listening a whole hell of a lot to black people. I just don't like what I've been hearing. Anyway, let's give Shannon Sharpe a listen. He's going to do a 7-minute thing, but while he's explaining to us why black people are so violent, why it's going to get a lot worse until we start listening, why don't we see if Shannon can also explain a story or two along the way. We'll start with a cop, then we'll go to a Chinese teacher in America, and then we'll go to a world-renowned doctor out in Los Angeles. And maybe Shannon's explanation will shed some light on these unbelievable episodes of black violence that we see every day.
New tonight, 23-year-old Irving Lucien Fenner Jr. is wanted for shooting Shelby K-9 officer Tim Brackeen overnight. We're told Brackeen was trying to serve a warrant when he was shot. 38-year-old Brackeen is a 12-year veteran of the department, and his wife have one daughter. Today, a family member posted on social media that Brackeen had surgery this morning. Our Christian Flores joins us live right now. Christian, at last check, Officer Brackeen was in critical but stable condition. Do we know any more?
Pam, police officials are not telling us much because they are actively investigating, but they say Officer Brackeen is still in critical but stable condition. Right now, the shooter's still on the run.
It just doesn't happen in Shelby.
The city of Shelby has been rocked to its core after Officer Tim Brackeen was shot in the torso early Saturday morning.
It's just a tough time for us all. We're just having a hard time processing this.
When you have one of your own injured like this, I mean, it's obviously going to have an impact.
Police officials say Brackeen was shot by Irving Fenner Jr. while trying to serve him a warrant. Now, police have issued another warrant for Fenner. This for attempted murder. Brackeen was the Shelby Police Officer of the Year in 2012, but Chief Jeff Ledford says he's an even better person.
Tim has a very outgoing personality. He can talk to anybody, so he's definitely he's an asset to us.
Matter of fact, the officer who was shot actually gave my son a ride from the parking lot to the World Series game.
Shelby is a tight-knit community. Whether or not neighbors knew Brackeen, they were hurt to find out he was shot in the line of duty.
For the police officers, and we all, try to treat them all as family.
Whatever we can do to help the policemen, because, I mean, without them, we can't survive.
Throughout the day, Brackeen's mother has posted on Facebook asking for prayers and giving updates on her son's condition. Earlier in the evening, she posted Brackeen's blood pressure was dropping to dangerous levels. The 12-year Shelby police veteran has a wife and young daughter. Right now, the community will continue to show support for him, his family, and his fellow police officers.
The main thing we have all got to do is rally around our police department.
The prayers to the family and to the officer.
In World War II, there are a lot of African Americans that went to foreign soil to fight. Mm-hmm. They were fighting for freedoms in a foreign land that when they came home, they didn't enjoy themselves. Under that flag, with those veterans. So think about this. You go to Germany and you go overseas and you fight for freedoms of people you have no idea, have nothing in common with. In the very country that you're representing, when you come back to it, you're second-class citizen.
Correct.
Me, I have a very unique perspective, Skip.
Okay.
I'm from rural South Georgia.
You are.
I'm 48 years old, Skip. And if I don't tell you my religion, you can't guess it. If I don't tell you my mom's name, you couldn't guess it. I was dirt poor. 1,000 square feet, 10 people sometimes, cement floors, 10 roofs. I'm well off now. The one thing that I've been for 48 years is black. That's what you see. You don't see my religion. You don't see my orientation. You don't know my political affiliation. But you see this. I see people get on shows and the officers say non-compliance. Well, I saw a guy in Florida, a white guy, stab 2 people, kill him, stabbed another guy, was eating the guy's face. Female officer tased him. They have to wait 10, 15 minutes, and they take him alive. I see a guy selling CDs, and he's killed. I see a guy selling loose leaf cigarettes and he's killed. See, that's what gets us up in arms.
I should.
Okay, Shannon, I didn't really quite get why that black guy had to shoot that white cop and why that's happening so much. But maybe it's a black thing. I just don't understand it. Okay, I get that. Why don't we listen to this letter I just got like an hour ago from a little country called China. It's from an American teacher in China. Give this a listen, Shannon. Here's the deal. I'm white. I'm a white English teacher living in China. I grew up as a Democrat in California. I got my literature degree at the University of Nevada, parentheses, that's Colin Kaepernick's school. And I moved abroad to teach English. I ended up in China. Mostly, I help hardworking English Chinese students study for the English aptitude tests required for them to study abroad, which is their dream. On occasion, after a student has been accepted to an American university, the uncomfortable topic of black cities or schools comes up, usually with the parents, and it's something like this. John, that's not his real name. John, that sounds like a pretty good school for my daughter, but are there a lot of black people in that area? Being a good Democrat, I would just blush and say something about racism and how you don't need to worry about that sort of thing. I usually felt kind of proud of myself too, like I was teaching the naive Chinese person how not to be so petty. Recently, one of my co-workers, a young female Chinese teacher, was accepted into a teaching program in Charlotte. It had been a dream of hers to travel abroad, and this was her first chance. Yesterday, I got an email from a mutual friend. She had been shot in the face during a robbery attempt, either while she was walking home from school or while she was at home after school. Thank God she didn't die, but she's in critical condition. We're trying to raise money and hopefully bring her home to her family. Coincidentally, I had just found your YouTube channel about 3 weeks ago. And the day before this horrible news, I had watched your video on Black on Asian violence. I cannot think of anything to do. At least I can send you the story. And here it is.
Kensington elementary school teacher is recovering after she was shot by a robber Friday night. Police say it happened at her South Charlotte home on East Park Avenue just after 11:30. According to police, the teacher, Ruong Kuo, is a Mandarin language immersion teacher at Kensington Elementary School. She was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. The school released a statement saying Kuo is in their thoughts and prayers. Police have not made any arrests.
There's an ice cream truck playing outside of my window as I make this video, Shannon, which is probably kind of appropriate since I like a little ice cream, maybe a little milk and cookies when I get my fairy tales. So you're spinning a big fairy tale, and you know what's happening as a result of your fairy tale, Shannon? People are dying, just like this Chinese student. Now in China, they're trying to raise money to bring her back to China. If they set up a GoFundMe page, I promise you I will put that in the show notes. It's probably in the show notes right now, so go down there and check it out. We're not done with Shannon yet. Shannon's not done with us yet. How long do you want this to go on, Shannon? I could interrupt your little thing every 10 seconds and give you one story that's worse than the next. All today. Let's go back into Shannon, because Shannon is a perfect representation. There's so many good things in this video. He's a perfect representation of the denial, deceit, and delusion we see from black people, from their white enablers like Skip Bayless. And I like the way he left little breadcrumbs going, oh yeah, listen to Michael Dyson. Oh, okay, well that's enough then. That guy's the biggest fraud in the history of American academia. And guess what? He has a lot of competition. Let's get back to Shannon, because we have a lot more to talk about.
Because you say non-compliance is a death sentence. If a man is gnawing a man's face after he's killed 2 people, we see what happened in Colorado. The guy killed 12 and they take him alive. We see what happened in Charleston. 9 parishioners. He drives. Not only do they take him alive, they take him by Burger King because he's hungry. So you think we're supposed to be okay with this?
No.
In what system?
How do we solve it?
Skip, there's a huge, we got to start with us. Because this black on black gun violence, see, I believe you can work, and what bothers me a lot of times is that when we say, the police brutality, and the first thing everybody, what about Chicago? What about black on black crime? It is. It's reached epidemic proportion. If you take away a person's hope, they will resort to drastic measures by any means necessary to climb up. They will destroy themselves in their own community because that's close proximity. A very good friend of mine, and I hope we can have him on, Michael Eric Dyson, he says, people kill in close proximity to where they are. Blacks kill blacks, white kills blacks, so forth and so on. So unless you got an integrated community, then and only then can you get apples and apples and oranges and oranges.
How do we solve that?
We got to get educated.
Fix that?
We got to get educated, Skip. Our education system in our communities is not good. We got to get guys we got to get people employed, Skip. Because if you don't have money and you want something nice, either I got 1 or 2 ways. I sell drugs or I go steal it or I go take it. Those are my 2 options, because I see Rolexes and I see Mercedes and I see nice things and I want them, but I don't have a job and I don't have opportunity and means to get it. So if I want it, I'm going to go get it. We got to do a better job. It's going to start with us. I'm not going to put the onus on white America because I know there are some things we can do. I'm not saying treat me different. Don't give me a handout because I'm black, but don't deny me because I'm black either. If we're going to be fair about this, if I'm equally as educated as my white counterpart, hey, why didn't I get the job? I need to know why I didn't get the job. Don't say because, affirmative action. I get into it sometime on Twitter with like, well, let's do away with affirmative action. I said, okay, I'm all for it. If you don't want to give me a job because I'm black, don't deny me because I'm black. Skip, this goes back 400 years. We're not going to solve it in 1 year. We're not going to solve it in 2 years. But the first step of race relationships in this country, we got to acknowledge that it exists.
Bold, terrifying stabbing in a trendy Denver neighborhood, and tonight police are still looking for the man who did it.
Earlier this afternoon, a man walked into a restaurant in the West Highlands neighborhood, sliced a customer's throat, and took off.
Denver 7's Jacqueline Allen is live at Meade Street Station. Jacqueline, the owner, says this was a random act of violence.
Which is what has people so shaken up here. The restaurant here is closed for the night. The man who was stabbed is a regular who's been coming here for years, but tonight he's in the hospital with serious injuries to his neck.
3625 West 32nd at the Meade Street Station.
In this trendy West Highland neighborhood,
I heard the sirens.
We saw probably a couple dozen cops come running by, hands on their guns.
A crime like this comes as a shock.
Looks like they need multiple stitches across the front of the throat.
Witnesses say a man walked into Meade Street Station and immediately attacked a customer at the bar.
They honestly thought he was hugging the other customer, and it turns out he had a knife in his hand and cut his throat. It was terrifying.
Meade Street's owner, Paul Burke, says the man with the knife has been here before, but he doesn't believe the attack was premeditated.
There was kids in the restaurant. It was just a very terrible random act of violence from what we could tell.
And while police examined the surveillance video and look for the suspect,
last seen westbound, still holding the knife.
Business owners on this popular stretch are concerned about safety.
You can see all the families walking by, kids on bikes, they're getting ice cream, people walking their dogs. Very quiet neighborhood, so, to kind of have that going on, in the middle of the day is, a little shock.
Now, police have released a description of the man they're looking for tonight. He's 6'3". He's a black man.
Stop sweeping it under the rug and say that it doesn't exist. It's a figment of my imagination. It happened. It happened. It goes back to slavery. I mean, think about it, Skip. We really didn't have the legitimate right to vote until 1964 in this country. They had the Declaration of Independence in the 1770s. And then you had the Civil War in 1865. So think about it. 200 years after the Constitution, we earned the right to vote. And we think all of a sudden everything's going to be okay? No, there's 200, 300, 400 years of frustration that's built up.
Have we made any progress since 1964?
Yes, I'm not going to judge a man by where he is. They say that's what the saying is. They say you never judge a man by where he is because you don't know how far he's come. John Lewis, who's from where I formerly reside in Atlanta, he says, guys, if you think it's bad, you have no idea what it was like in the 50s and 60s. He almost lost his life. It's better. We've come a long way, Skip, but we got a long way to go.
I agree.
New tonight, the man suspected of slashing a customer's throat at a Denver restaurant has been arrested. 46-year-old Anthony Marquette Ely is being held for investigation of first-degree assault and attempted murder. The attack happened at Meade Street Station Bar and Grill on West 32nd Avenue Tuesday. The victim survived. No word on a motive.
Motive? You're still wondering about motive? Shannon Sharpe used to play for Denver. He just told us what the motive was. I don't think you're listening, Denver television. Are you? Shannon's got a lot more to say. Let's get to it.
We got a long way to go.
I want you to know Michael Eric Dyson, also a close friend of mine.
Yes.
We will have him on this show. And all I can do is to continue this conversation on this show. I am open to doing, saying, moving anything to try to help fix this in my own tiny little white guy way. Whatever I can do, show me, direct me, and I will do it. Because...
But don't tell me it's a figment of my imagination. No. And when we grieve, don't tell us, listen, don't tell us what to grieve for, and don't tell us how long we should grieve. Oh, slavery happened, and I was like, hold on, wait a minute. It happened, it existed. I said, I've never heard a person tell a Jewish person the Holocaust. You weren't in the Holocaust. Your mom, they don't say that, but they tell, oh, you black, get over slavery. Your mom wasn't in slavery, you weren't a slave. No, hear me. I'm trying to have a conversation because this is what will happen. The peaceful protest, we'll try peaceful route, like Colin Kaepernick sitting down or taking a knee. And then when you won't listen, we'll make you hear us.
I'm listening, Shannon. I really don't think anybody else is, to tell you the truth. You just told us if we don't do what you did to stop cops from arresting black people who are breaking the law, you are going to encourage black people to get violent. I heard that. Does anybody else hear that? I think that Chinese student heard it because their English was pretty good. What about this doctor in Beverly Hills? He was in the Venice. I don't know what he was doing in Venice. You know, one thing people forget when they go to LA, when they go to Muscle Beach out of Venice, you know, pretty close to Santa Monica. I spent some time in there, hung out in Arnold Schwarzenegger's bar. Yeah. They forget Venice is really close to Compton and all these other nice places in South LA. So what about this doctor in Venice? He was just going to his car. All of a sudden, some black people knocked on his window, tried to shake him down. One actually got in his car. Give us the money! Give us the money! You know, they made up some reason that he owed them some money. Next thing you know, they're beating the hell out of him. Shannon, could you help me out with that?
You have a Ferguson, you have a Baltimore, or you have a Watts in the 60s. You don't want that.
A Dallas.
Yes, you don't want that. Listen, let's talk. We can have intelligent, but believe it's real. It is real in black America's mind that we are disproportionately treated unfairly. You can't say, well, look at you, Shannon. Look, you play in the NFL and Colin Kaepernick. You can't say one. You can't take athletes and entertainers and say, well, that's what black America is, because it's not. More of us are unemployed, undereducated, lack health care, lack equal housing. That's real in America. So unless we, America, believe that it is real, and when you hear people talk about it, listen to them, it's only going to get worse, Skip.
A couple of years ago, Dr. Thomas Sowell, one of my heroes, a hero to a lot of truth tellers in this country, he wrote like 3 columns on my book, White Girl Bleed a Lot. Oh, by the way, if you want to know how to write a book, just write anything and have Thomas Sowell say, oh yeah, Colin Flaherty opened my eyes on the topic. So I was very grateful for that. But he wrote a column, he wrote another column about it. where he said, listen, people might not know it. There's a race war going on in this country right now. And he used my book, all the examples in my books, as to let people know, not only is there an enormous amount of black on white violence, black on Asian violence, black on gay, black on young, black on old, black on whatever. Not only is there an enormous amount of that, but he also agreed that the reporters and public officials were doing everything they can to ignore, deny, condone, excuse, encourage, and even lie about it. And now we get Shannon Sharpe up there basically saying today what Thomas Sowell said 2 years ago, which he's saying, listen, you guys don't like all this violence? You don't like all this stuff happening in Ferguson and Baltimore? And you don't like all this murder happening to white people and all these robberies and all this other stuff? Whose fault is that? It's your fault, white people. That's why I don't care. I don't care about the causes and the solutions. I do care that people like Shannon Sharpe, I do care about letting you know that people like Shannon Sharpe are telling us that white people are in danger in this country because black people feel such a grievance against us. Is that worth knowing? I think it is. I mean, that's why I wrote Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. Because there's so much going on, so much violence, so much denial. And I just felt like I had to put it all in one place. Where it's almost like hitting a speed bag, bam, 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 bam. And some people, they'll write to me and say, Colin, it's very depressing reading all this information. No, it should be empowering to learn what's really happening. That way, if you're a teacher in China and some Chinese people come up to you and say, hey, Mary or Johnny, where should I live in America? You know what that guy should have done? Should have given those people that book, Chinese Girl in the Ghetto, about a Chinese immigrant that moved to Oakland when she was 11 years old. I think she's like 30 or something now. Black people made her life hell. That's happening all over the country, black on Asian violence. It just happened again. I haven't done it yet. I just got a story a few minutes, early this morning. Huge episodes of black on Asian violence in Athens, Georgia, the University of Georgia. So that teacher who sent me that stuff from China, thank you very much. I'll have to ask, but in turn, I may have to ask you to do me a little favor. Could you tell me how to say in Chinese, in a way that even Shannon Sharpe could understand it, don't make the black kids angry?
The game